Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Book, Body, and Beyond. My name is Ross. Today is Wednesday, so we're getting back into the Bible. We are now in 2 Samuel, the 22nd chapter, in the 29th verse, where it says, "For thou art my lamp, O Lord, and the Lord will lighten my darkness." Today happens to be a threefer. We're not covering just one verse, we've actually got a couple more to cover. The next one that can be found in Psalm 18, verse 28. For thou wilt light my candle. The Lord my God will enlighten my darkness. You can kind of see a theme going here. That verse basically echoes 2 Samuel. And then our third verse is found in Micah. It's one of the minor prophets, right towards the end of the Old Testament. Micah 7:8 says, "When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me." So, four words I want to key in on here. They're all in Hebrew. First one being ner, N-E-R, which can mean candle, lamp, or light. So, we can be talking about a literal lamp, like an oil lamp, or we could be talking about a literal or figurative light. In this case, of course, we're talking about a figurative light. The second word is naga, and that's a Hebrew word which means to illuminate or enlighten. And of course, enlighten means to give greater knowledge or understanding. The third word is or, O-R. And this word can be used as a verb or a noun, depending on the verse. So in the case of Psalm 18, it's being used as a verb. It means to be or to make luminous. And that can be taken, again, literally or metaphorically. In this case, we're using it metaphorically, or to be or to become light. Or if it's being used as a noun, like in Micah 7:8, it means illumination or luminary, luminary being like the sun or the moon. Or can also be used figuratively or metaphorically to describe happiness, bright, knowledge, or clear. Which brings us to our fourth word, koshek, which is describing the complete opposite. Now we're talking about the dark or the darkness or night. Or from a figurative or metaphorical standpoint, we're talking about misery, dark, ignorance, wickedness, and obscurity. So you can see this duality between or and koshek being, or represents happiness. Over here we have misery, bright, dark, knowledge, ignorance, clear, obscurity. So for instance, when we're talking about verses like Micah 7:8, where we're sitting in darkness and we're waiting for that light to come, we're not talking about sitting outside at 4 a.m. and waiting for the sun to rise. We're talking about a process that happens within us. And all you need to know at this point is that during meditation, there's a process that takes place within us. We just read about how God is the lamp. What about the oil? In the Catholic Church, they have what's called chrism. We get Christ from the Greek Christos, which again means anointed one. Anointed with what? Anointed with oil. And you'll see Christians take oil and anoint themselves on the forehead. And that's an external practice for an internal process. Same with baptism. Splashing yourself with water or dipping your head in a dirty river is not going to do anything. That's an external practice for an internal process. And inside of us, we have what's called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. It starts in the ventricles, it works its way down our spine to the sacrum. And that's a Greek word for a holy or a sacred bone. And we'll talk about why that bone in particular is so sacred or holy. That fluid then travels back up the spine to the pineal gland, which is a pine cone shaped gland in the center of our brains. The Egyptians called this the eye of Horus. Jesus calls it the single eye in Matthew 6:22. And the Vatican just happens to be such a big fan of pine cones that they stole a fountain from the Temple of Isis and then used it as a focal point outside their museum. And now we'll turn it over to St. Jude Thaddeus to show us his freshly lit pineal gland. So there's an introduction to the body portion of Book, Body, and Beyond. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we'll be covering one of my favorite books in the Old Testament, which is the book of Job. I'll see you then.